Hi there, Skip Meyer here with more of Skip Stories, as we call them. I thought today, and I was talking to a son of mine and my wife about doing a love story. Now, first of all, I have to define love stories. That's the hard part. My wife loves to watch the Hallmark Channel with their movies. And once in a while I'll watch with her, and there's nothing wrong with them, they're fine. They seem to be all alike to me. And so I thought I'd try something different. This, once again, is a true story from my life. And this is about a lady that would be my great aunt. She was sister to my grandfather. And the story would begin about 1905. She's long passed since, of course. But I inherited a picture of her from my mother a while ago. It was an 8 by 10 picture. And there's nothing but her name on it, no year or anything, but she's a young girl, a pretty girl. And you can tell the vintage of the picture by what she's wearing and her hairdo. It had the bouffant type of hair like they wore over 100 years ago. And long skirts, of course, ankle-length skirts. And it made me think that this story might make some sense. She was a pretty girl. And the picture would probably very close to when my story about her is going to be. Agnes had a boyfriend, and he was in college to become a minister, a seminary, I think they call them, somewhere down in Iowa. His father was a minister, and he had a church in New Ulm, Minnesota, right down the road from Nicollet, Minnesota, where Agnes was from. I'm not quite sure how they met, but everybody accused them of being a handsome couple. Now, Agnes was waiting for her boyfriend, if I can call him that, I guess, to graduate from college and get his church, and then they were planning on being married. They had all the plans in place for their wedding. His father would officiate at the wedding at his church in New Ulm. And so anyhow, she was patiently waiting for this all to happen, for him to graduate from college. It was spring of the year, and he was coming home for the summer vacation from college. So it would have been in June sometime. And they made all the plans ahead of time, communicating by postcard. The plan was he was getting out of college on a Friday, and he'd be traveling on Saturday. I believe he was coming back by train. There was a lot of travel by train in those days. And he would be heading straight for New Ulm and to home and say hello and unpack and say hi to his parents. And then he was going to see Agnes on Sunday. And the plan was she was going to make her way to New Ulm somehow. She had made arrangements with somebody. And they were going to go to his father's church service first thing in the morning. And Agnes had packed a picnic basket for him. and her boyfriend had made arrangements with somebody he knew to get a canoe. And the plan was, after the church service, they were going to go down to the Minnesota River, which is in New Ulm, get on the river, and going downriver towards Nicollet, and which would be their goal at the end of the day. And somewhere along the line, they would unload the canoe and take the picnic basket out and have a picnic lunch. The first town out of New Ulm is a town called Cortland, but it's offset from the river, but it's like maybe a mile or so, maybe just a half a mile from the river. Now, it was June, and you have to consider the time of year it was. People didn't tile the farmland then yet. There maybe was some, but not very much. Today's farmland is all clear of water. They get it downstream quite fast. But in those days, it took longer. And so the river was still running deep, was still cold because the snow had just melted. And I don't think they were quite ready for it. As they came up, approached where Cortland was off to the side, the river was running pretty fast. And of course, typical of rivers, they wind around. And as it went around a curve there, the canoe went over. Both Agnes and her fella and the lunch and everything they had went into the river, and the canoe kept going. Now, Agnes didn't swim a stroke. It was very uncommon for young ladies in those days to even own a swimming suit, much less to go swimming. And on top of it all, she had on a long skirt and high, what they call button shoes that you can't just kick off. So she wasn't dressed for any swimming, which she couldn't do anyhow. Her boyfriend, however, was a New Ulm boy. There's several swimming spots in New Ulm. Even before they built the swimming pool, there were several good swimming holes. And he was known to be a good athlete, big, strong boy, and a good swimmer. Agnes panicked. She thought sure it was the end of her life. The water, she fought the water. She couldn't do anything. She didn't know what to do. But suddenly he popped up, calmed her down, and started fighting the currents, because the water was running fast, as I said. The main part of the river is the same as it is today. The highway system, Highway 14, runs on the north side of the river. So the south side of the river then, and still isn't very much populated. Most of the roads go out the other way, and that's where the towns are. That's where Cortland, the first town there, would be. So he was trying to get her safely to the north side of the river. It was a struggle. Where they came closest, there were some bluffs where the water had eroded out, nothing to grab hold of. There were tree roots sticking out, I guess, that she couldn't quite reach. And then suddenly she felt him dive under the water and grab her around the knees and throw her up into the air. And she managed to grab a tree root and started pulling herself out of the water and struggling to get to where it would be safe. All the while she was assuming he was right behind her. She managed to reach safety and turned and looked, and he wasn't behind her.